In 2022, James Madison made their way up from the FCS to the FBS, joining the Sun Belt Conference. It wasn't long before this James Madison team made a name of themselves, as they went 8-3 in the 2022 season. But even after the finish James Madison had, they couldn't even play in a bowl game due to the NCAA rules and regulations. Because teams coming up from the FCS levels to the FBS level have to wait 2 years to play in a bowl game. But now we are in the year 2023, and James Madison has had one of the best transitions ever from the FCS level to the FBS level in recent memory. And now this year they put together a really good season after they finished with an 11-1 record. And they also finished first in their division, but they still aren't able to play in the conference championship game. Because ultimately, this James Madison team was being completely disregarded from the NCAA because of the rules. James Madison still happened to have a game day appearance just 2 weeks ago when they hosted against Appalachian State. And instead of a top 11 matchup between Oregon State and Washington having the chance to be the destination for game day, they still let James Madison host game day, which is saying a lot about this team. But ultimately, their one loss on the season was against Appalachian State in their game day appearance. The NCAA was getting a lot of hate from the national media for not letting James Madison play in a bowl game. James Madison was a team that could have finished 12-0, but because they had transitioned from the FCS, they were being disregarded. But finally, the NCAA just recently made the announcement that due to the lack of 6-win teams, that James Madison will be able to play in their first bowl game. This has to be very exciting news for James Madison football. You may not have represented your conference in the conference championship, but a bowl game is a start, and it's very deserving, and I'm glad the NCAA made the decision to let James Madison in a bowl game. Because in my eyes, there's no reason an 11-1 team shouldn't be able to play in a bowl game. I know they just came up from the FCS, but all they've done is proven that they're a legit team, and they deserve to be at the level they are. And believe it or not, James Madison is actually second in sacks on defense. Not just in their conference, but in the whole country. And they've had a really solid defense all year. It's going to be interesting to see who James Madison can play in a bowl game. Imagine potential matchups against Memphis, or imagine James Madison versus an undefeated Liberty team. That game against Liberty would have so much hype around it, because James Madison and Liberty are both two teams that have had a lot of success coming up from the FCS level. And Liberty hasn't had a below 500 season yet ever since joining the FBS in 2018. Liberty has put together multiple good seasons, and have gone 6-6 or better the last 6 seasons in the FBS. This game may be under people's radars, but oh, what a game James Madison versus Liberty would have the potential to be. It's not just two hyped up teams from the FCS level. It's a very good Liberty offense versus that defense of James Madison. These teams would honestly just match up perfectly. We could see so many good potential matchups for James Madison outside of the Sun Belt Conference. I mean, imagine them versus a Toledo team who is also 11-1 with a really solid defense. That game against Toledo would be a 13-10 slugfest type of game. But I am really glad that they are giving James Madison a chance to play in a bowl game. Definitely should be some interesting matchups for James Madison. But if you haven't already, here's a quick reminder to like the video and subscribe to the channel, and also turn on notifications so you never miss an upload, because we post daily college football videos, and I do really appreciate all the support I get from you guys. But anyways, let's get back to the video. Now let's kind of go back and look at the history of the program and where this team started. James Madison's first ever season was back in 1972. It took them time to become relevant in the college football world. But in 2004, James Madison had won their first national championship, and then won another one recently in 2016 at the FCS level. And they were also runner-ups for the national championship in 2017 and also in 2019. So the transition for this James Madison team really might have been a little long overdue because of the success they've had in the 2010s. The location of this James Madison football team is in Harrisonburg, Virginia at Zane Shawker Field. The James Madison name you may be familiar with, as the team name does honor the 4th president of the United States, James Madison. And it's ironic to me that a football team is named after a president from centuries ago. That's kind of cool. Like, imagine a team named George Washington or Abraham Lincoln. James Madison has been a pretty successful team. They were consistently good in the FCS. Coach Curt Cignetti, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, correct me if I'm wrong, but the coach has really helped this team get the recognition they deserve, and he is named Coach of the Year in the Sun Belt Conference in 2023. After winning 5 one-score games this season, James Madison won their final 3 games on the season by an average of 36 points. James Madison also leads the nation in rushing defense and tackles for loss per game. And they also have a top 20 scoring offense and a top 20 scoring defense, which a lot of people can't say that they can do. Coach Curt Cignetti continues to lead this team after making the 2019 FCS National Championship. And he's in a great position to keep leading this team the right direction going forward. But unfortunately, it was just recently announced that Coach Curt Cignetti took the head coaching spot at Indiana. So that's not great news for James Madison football, as they now have to find them another coach moving forward. James Madison has had a breakout year this year, and it's really showing. James Madison is led by senior quarterback Jordan McLeod, who is a senior who's thrown for 3,413 yards and also 32 touchdowns. On the defensive side, you got a guy like Jalen Green, who's a senior defensive lineman that has sacked the quarterback 15.5 times, which leads the team, but also leads the whole country this year. James Madison is near the top in a lot of categories on defense. But what makes Jalen Green's stats even more crazy, yes, he may be first in country for sacks on the year, but he only played 9 games, and he had a season-ending injury just a few weeks ago. He also had a 6-game stretch where he got all of his 15.5 sacks from, and he had a game against Marshall where he had 5 sacks, and that's honestly just crazy if you ask me. There's no denying the hype this James Madison team has had, and maybe it is overhyped. I mean, stats don't say everything about a team, and maybe they didn't deserve a game day appearance, because there are more teams that were deserving that week. But the fact is, no matter how good you think they are or not, this James Madison team has overexceeded their expectations coming into the year. And it's going to be interesting to see what they can do moving forward, having to kind of reset, because you just lost your head coach. You're also losing key players on your team who are seniors, so you have to be asking, what's next for this James Madison team? But right now, James Madison really has a chance to cement their legacy, because an FCS team coming up and just in year 2 having a chance to finish 12-1 with a decent bowl win is definitely impressive. And it will be hard to forget, because not a lot of teams have done what James Madison has done. Now I know that Liberty has been consistently good since coming up, but they didn't have this much hype. And Appalachian State, they may have a memory of beating a top 10 Michigan team in 2007, back when they were in the FCS. But it really took Appalachian State time to come up, as they didn't make it to the FBS until the 2010s. And ultimately, they did have some success coming up to the FBS, but I don't think they had as much success as this James Madison team has had, or at least as much hype as I remember them having. But it is going to be hard to match the hype and transition that this James Madison team has had. And like I said, no matter if you think it's overhyped or they're overrated, honestly, who cares? They put together an 11-1 season, and it's just impressive if you ask me. They also put together some pretty crazy stat lines too, regardless of if they are playing in the Sun Belt Conference. But when I think of the most memorable teams jumping up from the FCS to the FBS, of course Appalachian State has to be in the conversation, but you also can't deny the success James Madison has had. And honestly, I didn't really know this team existed until this year. They never really stood out to me, and I know I didn't really get big into college football until this year, but I knew way more about teams that were in the FCS like Idaho and Portland State than I knew about James Madison. And I did watch college football years ago. But this year, I'm more into it. And I could have probably named a lot more FCS schools last year before James Madison came to my mind. But James Madison has had a rise that absolutely nobody can ignore. And although they are losing key players to their team and losing their head coach, this may just be the beginning as the James Madison Dukes try to carry on their legacy. And it would have been a shame to see a team that had a year like James Madison had missing a bowl game, because we don't know how good they will actually be next year. So they might not get another opportunity like this in a while. But James Madison wanted this bowl game very badly, because now you got something bigger to play for. And this James Madison team wanted it so bad that they went as far as making a name of themselves around the country, and there were talks about them filing a lawsuit in the Western District of Virginia due to the bowl ban. James Madison and the national media was really fighting against the bowl game ban, and nobody agreed with them being left out, but ultimately, in the end, James Madison will end up getting what they want. This was definitely a crazy season, but ultimately, they will be playing in a bowl game, and there's not a lot of tension and drama going on with this James Madison team anymore. And all that's left on the season for James Madison is football to be played and a statement to be made by the James Madison Dukes in 2023. But anyways, that's going to do it for the video. Can James Madison win a bowl game? Let me know down in the comments what you think about this James Madison team. And also let me know which matchup would be best for James Madison to finish their 2023 season. This video has actually been anticipated for a while now. I was just waiting for the right time to talk about this team. But if you did enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and also turn on notifications so you never miss a daily upload, because we post daily college football videos. And I hope you guys enjoy all the games going on today. It's a big week of college football, and it's about to get crazy. But anyways, that's it guys, and peace out.